I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government.
Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, the meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. We are diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever. Get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. The speaker list is absolutely bonkers. Nayib Bukele, Michael Saylor, Saifedean, Adam Back just recently announced today. Jordan Peterson, that's right, Jordan Peterson is going to be at the Bitcoin conference. You're not going to want to miss it. Take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 723,640. The Bitcoin price 44,300. Chain rewrite days 705. Total public lightning capacity 3,451.37. Nico, that is just climbing. Moscow time 22:57. Blocks to the halving 116,360. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity, that's right, we mention it every day, but eventually we will stop mentioning that it is the new metric, because eventually it'll just be like all the old metrics. But it is the unspent capacity from the Samurai Whirlpool, which is a coin join or collaborative spend service, and there is 4,372.19 BTC on that. Damn.
About
That's a lot of court. The numbers.
190 million caca fiat dollars. A lot of people.
It's a lot of collaborative spending, Nico.
They value their anonymity, and especially with the world events, we're going to talk about it, of course. I think that it's worth something these days. Check this out. I do have some actual number data. Check this out, Phil. And the reason I want to pull this up.
Oh, wow.
Is
lightning
because,
capacity.
Yes, and it feels like it's been frozen in time for a while, and we've been reading the same number on the Clark Moody dashboard. So let's go through some things, because there is growth, and it has been exponential, okay? So let me minimize us, Phil and I, because we're kind of blocking the view a little bit. Okay, so check this out. This is the Lightning Network capacity. This is when it started. Look, people feel like Lightning is old, but it's really not, right? It really started in January 26, 2018, right? The Lightning Network capacity was 3 Bitcoin, right? This is today's date, right? Literally gone exponential. The Lightning Network capacity is 3,443 Bitcoin, right? Now, it gets even more interesting, Phil. Check this out. This is the Lightning Network channel size. The description, the mean Bitcoin size of public Lightning Network channels, right? And again, also going up tremendously, right? Now let's go to Lightning Network number of nodes, right? I think this is a very self-explanatory, right? The number of Lightning Network nodes, right? And also exponential, right? When it first started, it was 300 and sorry, I apologize, guys. So 206, right? And as of late, it's 20,270, right? If that's not growth, I don't know what is. And the Lightning Network number of channels also exponential, started with 997, or I keep fucking up this, guys. I'm sorry, 667, and today we are at 86,855 channels, right?
Look at
absolutely crazy. That's crazy. If that's not growth, I don't know what is, Phil. Like, I don't know what isn't, right? And again, why am I pointing this out? Why am I talking about this? Why did I show you a bunch of Lightning stats, right? Because this completely defeats the shitcoin narrative. Lightning Network is faster, right? It's cheaper than any of your shitcoins that are trying to scale on chain, right? And just
more
like,
secure.
And more secure, because the base layer of Lightning is Bitcoin, the most secure blockchain on the face of the planet by
rug pulls.
By far, right? No rug pulls. So the shitcoin narrative, which is like Bitcoin's old and slow and whatever, that's the base layer, right? The second layer is where you build faster transactions. Now, let me make the analogy with the old system, right? What's the base layer of the old financial system? Cash, dollars, right? But what do you use? You use credit cards, right? Most of the time you do transactions, right? You buy something online.
And debit cards. Yeah.
That's
but it's
not
the same network.
That is not the first layer, right? That's a second layer or a third. You can even make the argument that it's a third layer, right? So again, right? So in Ethereum, right, you had Vitalik, right? He had an infamous video where he went on to say, it shouldn't cost you this amount of money to make transactions.
The second issue, which I think is very related, is transaction costs. Right now, a Bitcoin transaction costs 5 cents, which is fine right now because PayPal's fees are even stupider. But
kind of expensive, right?
Yeah, it should not cost you 5 cents.
Well, he's starting to find out, right, that the problem is that scaling on the first layer. Think about how much data you have to put into every single one of those blocks, that every single Bitcoin node around the world has to keep a record of, right? So the block size has to stay small, and if it stays small, it can only handle certain amount of transactions, right? Because why is it staying small? Why is the Bitcoin block size the way it was, right? It's so that the barrier to entry, the amount of resources that it requires to run your own node is cheap. And if it's cheap, more people could run it, right? Right now, to buy the necessary equipment to run a Bitcoin node, right, it's about $100, $200, maybe $300, right, in that price range. If you want to run an Ethereum node, good luck, bro. Okay, you're gonna have terabytes to terabytes. You're gonna need the necessary CPU, all of that good stuff, right, to run that resource-intensive node. And what happens when that's the case? Centralization, right? And if there's centralization, it's prone to censorship. It's prone to government interference, right? We know for a fact that the majority of Ethereum nodes are run on AWS servers, right? And the reason for that is simple. They're resource intensive, right? And who has that type of computer infrastructure? Big, giant server farms. So they outsource it to somebody else. Whereas in Bitcoin, because it's it doesn't require that many resources, you could just buy the parts and, run it. You could even run a Bitcoin node on your computer if you would like to, right? That's just annoying because you're always going to have to, have it on. It's better just to have a little tiny, Raspberry Pi or Pi 4, Rock 64, I don't know, whatever, and just have a Bitcoin node, a tiny little computer that's always running the Bitcoin software exclusively that you don't have to unplug, right? But anyways, I just find it's fascinating because we look at the Lightning Network numbers every day, Phil, but we don't actually look at the graphs, like the price. But when you actually zoom out, again, all you're seeing is this exponential growth of the Lightning Network. And again, it's debunking all the fucking shitcoin narratives, and it's glorious to see.
In one of the charts that you showed, I think it was the node count possibly, and you could see in January 2019 there is a massive uptick, and it's super interesting because that was the first time I ever installed a node. That was the time that Casa came out with their node. Okay. So yeah, take a look. Look at the Lightning number, even the number of channels, right? Look at that spike in January 2019. Yeah. It just went up and then flat. So it's everybody got their nodes online, and now we understood how many people got nodes, or at least how many people open channels. But anyways, my point is that was a huge time for the Lightning Network. So let's review. We had the Lightning Trust Chain, which was started by Hodlonaut, right? So there was that, which sent Fake Toshi into a tailspin of anger and depression. And then, so besides the Lightning Trust Chain, we then had the Casa Node 1, which was the first one that came out from them. They were going to make a 2, but unfortunately that kind of got discontinued. But also at the same time, we had a do-it-yourself node called the Raspy Blitz. Now, there was an older node as well that you could do that was do-it-yourself by Staticus 3000. I'm totally forgetting what the node was called. I'm so sorry, okay? But that was the first one I tried to build, and it was not as easy as the Raspy Blitz. The Raspy Blitz was really simple, and it made it so that someone like me who's technical but not, you know what I mean? Not technical to that point, I couldn't sit there and have to go and edit scripts and stuff like that to get this thing running. So the Raspy Blitz made it really easy for technical people to get involved and get these nodes up and running. And it was huge. There were so many people. Those channels were filling up. Like I'm talking about the Telegram channels, right? Of people wanting to get this stuff running and everybody troubleshooting. And it was, don't get me wrong, but it was a really cool time. And at the same time as well, there was the first Boltathon, which we had the creator of the Boltathon. I am totally forgetting what his name is, but he was on our show, and you know, like that was a really cool time, right? They wanted to figure out what cool innovations people could do on Lightning and how Lightning could help the world. So you had a whole bunch of people in this Boltathon, aka Hackathon, essentially making real world use cases for using Lightning. So it was really cool. And we actually got BTC as a prize. So, and I'm proud to say that I came in third place with Lightning in a Box, fellow Bitcoiner, for our idea. So we actually got some sats out of this. It was pretty cool. Anyways, it was a very interesting time. It was crazy, and we were having so much fun.
Dude, I remember the Lightning Trust Chain, and essentially what that was it started by the Space Cat, what you said, Phil, and it was essentially sending Lightning invoices to everywhere around the world. And that was a historic moment. And why was that a historic moment? Because it was the first time, I would say, in history that you were essentially sending money throughout the world without even knowing who that person is, going to essentially every continent, I think, except Antarctica, really. But you know, it just kept going, right? You know, some people would steal the funds, you know, and then they would, you know, build it back up again. And you know, I think when you look back in human history, I think it will be a historical moment. The first time, just like when they connected the undersea cable between the United States and the UK. Right, and I think it was like the Queen or something that sent, you know, a message or something. I don't know, but they sent the first message right under the, you know, connecting the continents before they had to take a ship, you know, between the UK and America. Right, this is the same thing. This is the first time people were able to send money instantaneously anywhere around the world without knowing someone's name, their address, you know, who they are. Right, and I think that it like, you know, in the story of human evolution, the story of humans, right, I think it's a very significant milestone that because we lived through it, we appreciate it, but I don't think that we completely understand the significance of it until, you know, many, many years in the future. I'm pretty sure it will be in the history books. If there are history books at that point. I don't think, maybe.
It'll be a digital record. It'll be a digital record.
It will be a digital record. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. Smart automation, low fees, fair spreads. It's Bitcoin made easy, the best way to stack Bitcoin. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
So as Nico likes to point out, we've got the blue check marks. So we already know we've got that going for this account.
Wait,
yes.
Hold on. Okay.
Yes.
So little Nico comment, right? If you look at, you know, the guy, the little side thing, it says NFT obsessed, featured on Gary V, CBC Radio, CoinDesk, Reuters, founder of the MetaKey. Follow my NFT YouTube. If that is not the definition of an establishment shitcoiner, I don't know what is. Anyways, I'm sorry, Phil. Got sidetracked.
That is beautiful. I love that intro. And moving from that intro, let's take a look at this absolute nonsense garbage tweet. NFTs will start cars. No, they won't. Open houses. Gate real world events. This is the best part. Represent ownership contracts for $1 million real world assets. The JPEG is a test, whether you're looking beyond surface level. Let me tell you something, Maddie. The JPEG is definitely a test. It's this type of test. It's the Are You Gullible test. And buddy, I don't care how much money you're making, you failed. Okay? You failed. You don't know that you failed yet. And the problem with our society is because we use, unfortunately, because our money is dog shit, and because we use this as a metric, we think that because we have a ton of money, that we're just like, we're right about something. Okay? And I understand that. But the thing is that doesn't stop any of this from being bullshit. Okay? Bernie Madoff made billions of dollars. He's full of shit. He's a fucking scammer. Okay? And he's not the only one. We've got multi-level marketing schemes, right? They do the same things. They make billions of dollars, millions of dollars. They're freaking scams, okay? It doesn't mean anything. But the key to this is the represent ownership. That's right. It represents ownership. You don't own anything. Those assets can move, and you're still holding that NFT. Doesn't matter. It's not really yours.
And
This is, I don't care where he's been. I don't care who's had him on. This is hilarious.
And let me talk a little bit about the blue check mark, right? Look, if you ever see that Phil and I get blue check marks, just know that we've been captured and we've been compromised, okay? I think they're a sign of elitism. I think they're a sign of being accepted by the establishment, and that those are principles that we fundamentally disagree with. I think that, look, we're always going to be plebs, whether we have, 100,000 followers or 200,000. I'm not getting that blue check mark, bro. I don't fucking want it. I want to be like everybody else, right? I think it's a sign of elitism. And what I've noticed, right, I'm sure you guys have picked this up as much as we have, is that as soon as somebody gets a blue check mark on Twitter, all of a sudden their tweets start to change and their rhetoric starts to change. Naval had a very interesting tweet, and someone asked him, why don't you have a blue check mark? And he says, because I would get the lying disease, right? And I think that's a very, very well put, right? And I think that, in a Bitcoin world, right, in a fiat world, fine, right? But in a Bitcoin world, right, it's the same principles, right? It doesn't matter whether you have 1 billion Bitcoin or 0.01 Bitcoin. You're equal. The network sees you as equal, right? And, we believe that as well, right? So, again, if you see that Phil and I get blue check marks on Twitter, we've been compromised. It's the canary in the coal mine, I'm telling you right now. Anyways.
23 skidoo. There you go. That's like an old, that's kind of like an old joke.
What is the next Phil?
Let's go.
Philippe.
We were asked to cover this, and fellow Bitcoiner at Hans Films provided some of the links to this. So we are going to dive in. What am I talking about? We are talking about this strange occurrence that seemed to happen last week on Gemini. Well, this week is being reported, but it was kind of talked about, like during the weekend and late last week. Anyways, let's dive in. Gemini client IRA Financial hacked for 36 million in Bitcoin and Ethereum. IRA Financial Trust, which is not Gemini, by the way, that is a completely separate product, okay, that interfaces with Gemini. That means it communicates with Gemini. Okay, they're not the same thing, okay? So I just want to point that out. IRA Financial Trust says it's trying to recover funds stolen from Gemini-linked Bitcoin and crypto retirement accounts. Hackers stole 21 million in Bitcoin and 15 million in Ethereum from retirement accounts held with IRA Financial Trust on February 8th, according to a report from Bloomberg. Late Friday, it tweeted that it had discovered suspicious activity that has affected a limited subset of our customers with accounts on the Gemini cryptocurrency exchange. That's right. Not all the customers from this platform were affected. Interestingly, I was reading through a Reddit thread that was explaining that they have some type of an earn platform, right? And I'm guessing that, where you can earn BTC, I guess, for your holdings and whatnot. Those people were not affected. Now, I believe that some of the confusion may be because earn has nothing to do with IRA Financial. It has to do with Gemini. And this hack was not a Gemini hack. This was a hack of the IRA Financial portion of the system, as we're going to show. Anyways, impacted users are complaining that they have been locked out of their accounts as they await answers. IRA Financial Trust has not yet responded to a decrypt request for comment. IRAs, or individual retirement accounts, are tax-advantaged savings instruments for U.S. workers who can deduct their contributions from their income. For instance, if you make $60K but contribute $5,000 to an IRA, you're only taxed on $55,000. You only pay taxes once you withdraw the the funds. Okay, so that's how an IRA works. And this particular company has what is called a self-directed IRA, which means someone else is not managing this for you. You are managing yourself. You are purchasing the investments yourself. Our new cryptocurrency solution is the first to allow retirement holders to hold cryptocurrencies in an IRA directly on an exchange. While IRA Financial's accounts are serviced on the Gemini platform, Gemini does not manage the security of IRA Financial's systems. And that means that IRA Financials became, in my eyes, a honeypot. That's what I think happened, right? Because look now all of a sudden you've got a point of failure, right? A weaker point, right? Than directly attempting to attack Gemini. You've got this point of failure that you can try to exploit. That's what I think. Anyways, we're going to continue on here. This is a tweet thread from Stephen Chen. I don't know Stephen, but apparently Stephen was a customer of IRA Financial, and we are going to dive into his story. Okay, here we go. Well, it finally happened. I was part of the crypto hack and had coin taken from me. On Tuesday night, this was last Tuesday, I went in to check my balance in at Gemini and my account was locked. Gemini is where the at IRA Financial crypto IRA is custodied. And this is where people made the mistake of thinking Gemini was hacked. I was too close for mobile, so switched to web. I don't really understand that comment, but anyways. I was able to log in and notice that my balance was less than expected. Did the crypto market crash? After reviewing my transactions, I saw that an unauthorized withdrawal was made at 3:37 p.m. on Tuesday to someone else's Roth IRA. Who is this Ben Cho fellow, and why does he have my Ethereum? I thought to myself, this must have been a clerical error on the IRA Financial side, so I reached out to support. I also let at Gemini support know. On Wednesday morning, at IRA Financial sent a generic email on the status of your Gemini account. The mass email made it obvious this was not a clerical error. However, it was difficult to understand what was going on as neither Gemini support nor IRA Financial responded. That's the worst, right? You having coins custodied and no one's responding to you. It's like you're just sitting in limbo. It's now been over 48 hours since that breach. IRA Financial has not followed up with any more than their vague mass email. Gemini support only followed up with me after an additional ping and placed the blame solely on IRA Financial. I was referred to this Reddit thread where people who lost much more than I did went sleuthing. The income funds all came from Gemini, and outgoing funds were sent to Tornado.cash proxy, which is I'm assuming it's a shitcoin mixing service. Anyways, this would make the total loss 493 BTC and 5,097 ETH. Yeah, man, this is rough. Here we go. The night of the attack, this is one person who also lost their coins in it, okay? The night of the attack, I checked IRAFinancialTrust.com and the website was down. My suspicion is that an employee's account with admin privileges was compromised, perhaps by taking over the domain, and the hacker used that account to move funds to the Cho account, presumably an IRA Financial customer, and from that account, they did have a whitelist address set up that allowed them to move funds out of Gemini to their address. Again, not confirmed, because we don't know 100% exactly what happened. These are speculations. But it all sounds very, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't take long for an attacker to figure out where the weakness is, right? And IRA Financial is not going to have, as I mentioned before, is not going to have the security measures that Gemini is going to have. This is going to be an API, okay? It's going to be a piece of software with specific keys that allow the services to communicate. So as long as this check is met, the communication can take place. Anyways. Let's continue. A cursory look into BTC.X transaction leads you, Lucid BTC, to believe that the aforementioned Cho was likely just a customer who also had his coins taken. He noted that at least 20 million USD in Bitcoin seems to have been stolen, no telling how much ETH, including mine. Okay, but we just said before, it's over 5,000. Hopefully this is a lesson to all of us with money on the exchanges. The IRS does not seem to look kindly on self-custodied IRA assets, and this was a small portion of my retirement funds. That's another piece of signal right there. The IRA doesn't look too kindly on self-directed anything. They want you. They love it when you custody your stuff. They love it when you put your value and your wealth with an institution that they control like a puppet. That's what they need. That's how this works. That's where they get their power from. I'm assuming I'll never see any of my coin again, but there's no way to know because there's been zero follow-up communication from IRA Financial. Inside job? I think it's most likely, to be honest. I don't see how it can't be. I mean, that is very tempting. You know, that is very tempting to somebody. And I mean, look, let's face it, right? All of this is new. People are just learning. Maybe they won't figure it out.
Dude,
we're going to keep up with the story, though, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to see.
It's a developing story.
Yeah.
Also, I did a little bit different, something with the dimensions today, guys. So let me know what you think of that in the comments, or do you prefer the old way?
This is all Phil's fault.
No, I just made us bigger, and then the screen smaller, right? So
it's
I
not
don't
my
know,
shenanigans?
I don't know if they would rather see our faces or what we're reading. I don't know. Let us know down in the comments, right? Give us some feedback. But anyways, I digress. Look, so at first when I read that, Gemini is known to have Coinbase and Gemini is known to have some of the best custody in the world. Okay, they really take it seriously. So at first, initially, when I heard that story, I was like, dude, if they can get Gemini, holy crap, right? But then, you know, you realize it wasn't Gemini custody. It was some type of offshoot. And then the main point that I wanted to make is, again, basic things that we always talk about in Bitcoin. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Period. That's how it works, right? If you aren't the sole owner of those keys, it's not your Bitcoin. It's just numbers on a screen. Now, here's the battle of our time. Here's the battle. This is what's coming. Ted Cruz said it the other day, right? You hear the rhetoric, right? Self-hosted wallets, right? You had the Korean exchange essentially banning self-hosted wallets. What they're going to try to do is they're going to try to demonize self-custody. That's why you have Warren Davidson in the episode that we did yesterday trying to pass a bill. I don't think it's going to pass through Congress to protect self-custody. That's why you have Wendy Rogers in Arizona also trying to protect Bitcoin self-custody. Because, Phil, you're absolutely right when you said it's much easier for the IRS or the federal government to compromise a few financial institutions than millions upon millions of people holding their own wealth. They lose total control at that point. So it's going to be a tug and pull battle between the federal government and the individual states that most benefit from Bitcoin. I think it's going to be very hairy. I think it's not a big problem with Bitcoin sitting at a $1 trillion market cap, give it as plus or minus. But once Bitcoin starts to overtake gold, governments are going to react viciously because it's again, like, guys, we've been talking about this over and over again, and I want to push it into your minds, right? This is a direct attack to their source of power, and their source of power is the money printer. Once people figure out, holy shit, I don't have to store my wealth in dollars, I can store my wealth in a deflationary asset, one of which I could take self-custody and bring with me wherever I want and transact with whoever I want in the world. Why like that system better? They don't want you to know that. That's Pandora's box when that opens, because they've been conditioning people to think that this is the only way. This is the only way. But Bitcoin, essentially, because it's decentralized, says, hey, no, you can do whatever you want, man. Anyone can open a Bitcoin address. Anyone can do whatever. And don't allow them to tell you that's a bad thing. Because their system of KYC and this and that and blah, it's a system of exclusion. Bitcoin is a system of inclusion. Bitcoin doesn't care what country you're from, what skin color, what religion. Anyone could download a Bitcoin wallet. So that is the battle. That is the next battle coming up. I'm not going to give a prediction, but I would say we don't give price predictions on this channel, but we've been pretty on point about events in terms of predictions, Phil. I suspect this is going to be a point of contention, to say the least, in the coming years. And I think that the federal government's going to react viciously, and I think that it's going to be the individual states that are going to become strongholds, right? When Jeff Booth came on the show, I asked him point blank, because it is a fear of mine. It's something that keeps me up at night. Do you think Bitcoin will become illegal in the United States? And, Jeff Booth, to quote him, he says, there will be a revolution, right? Mm-hmm. And states like Texas, states like Florida, states like Wyoming, nope. They're not going to put up with that, right? And with Bitcoin, hey, guess what? If you're the owner of those keys, you're the only owner, right? So, guys, this is a historical moment in history. No, we have never had this type of technology ever as mankind. It's always been the king or something that has had all the gold, or the state or the nation state that has had the control of the money supply. We've never had a technology ever that has given the individual the ability to store trillions of dollars in his mind. Not only that, also being able to send that value to anywhere around the world at a snap of a finger for minimal cost. That's never existed before. So trying to anticipate what is going to happen is impossible, but you could pretty much anticipate what the reaction is going to be by the people in power. So yeah, anyways, guys, take self-custody, or, you're always at risk of a hack, unfortunately. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, comics by toxic, savage Bitcoiners, and they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. The artwork is different every volume. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, everybody. Fuck, Phil laughed before.
I'm sorry. This is great.
But it's hilarious. There's a famous Bitcoin meme, right, where like Bitcoin's slaying the all-time high, right? We were stuck at 44K. It really feels like that. Anyways, moving on to the next one is by Poll2X. Good night. You told me you were a trader, but all you do is post memes and frogs on the internet. Blocked. Great. Okay, next one by BTC Chewy. Canadian ballers right now. They're freezing accounts, sir. Move it all into Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that. It's not that simple, guys. Remember what I just said earlier in the Daily Fail.
Yeah.
It's going to be a point of contention. Shit is getting real. This is the then they fight you stage. It's no longer a joke. We joke around a lot on this show. Guys, I'm telling you right now, take self-custody. Get your Bitcoin off exchange. Take your financial sovereignty. Put it into your own hands. Don't outsource it. Okay.
It's the meme review, Nico. Come on. Okay, we have to be. We're supposed to be fun right here.
When the hammer falls, you're gonna want possession of those keys. Anyways, workers owning the means of production. Workers using the means of production against the state. And of course, this is referencing the truckers, which is the funniest part. Okay, like, the left is always about, own the means of production. And then when you actually have a worker uprising in Canada, it's an insurrection. Like, it's funny how that works. Anyways, here we go.
It's not an approved protest, Nico.
It's not an approved protest, exactly, right? And this is by Carl B. Merger. I'm sorry, sir. Your card was declined due to your political views, right? And again, referencing what is happening in Canada. So very deep memes. And yeah, dude, awesome scores. And I'm going to give it a very menacing score, Phil. I'm going to give it the end key.
Oh my gosh.
On my keyboard. Yeah. If you press that key on your keyboard, your PC explodes. You heard it from me.
You said you were going nuclear. I didn't realize that that's what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I've got something to keep me safe in these times of darkness. And you know what that is? This box of LEDs.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the more technical people are going to say, well, they're kind of freaking useless because you have to solder them in and then connect the power source to it. You're right. But still, I have hope.
It's true, but at the end of the day, it is a box of LEDs.
It's a box of LEDs.
Yeah, and an end key. Good scores. Anyways, guys, we want to know: do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comment section. Comment, like. Help us defeat the shitcoin channels. Help us get the pleb signal out there. Phil, you want to say something?
Yes, I just want to point out because we have somebody that disagreed today with our meme scores, Darth.
No, that can't happen. No.
And I just want to point out we have zero plan. We have zero plan. We don't even know what to do if somebody disagrees with our memes. So we will get back to you.
What do we do?
I don't know.
We'll let you know. We'll let you guys know. Fuck. I said that, but I never expected someone to disagree. God damn it! This is a pickle. Anyways, yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms. If it isn't obvious why by now, right? Like Rumble.com, and of course our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. That's gonna be the Alamo, right? Bitcoin TV. In the coming years, if really shit goes down, that will stay the way that Matt Odell. Shout out to him, by the way, how he structured it, right? Servers in different continents, right? So that's the Alamo is Bitcoin TV. If you don't find us on Rumble on YouTube, we're gone from the face of the planet. Check out Bitcoin TV, and of course join our Telegram group. Link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news, brought to you by Cloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin art sculpture. Opens up, you can put your favorite hardware wallet in there, and you can get in any custom color you'd like. Yeah, that's right, you can customize this Bitcoin art grenade, freedom grenade, sculpture thing. Super cool stuff. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off anything on the store, CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys. So I've been kind of foreshadowing this whole episode. I've been a little bit dark and, menacing and whatever. And this is why. Guys, this is the real deal. This is the beginning, right? This is... I'm telling you that we've been telling, if you guys have been subscribed to this channel, this is what we're talking about. It's starting, right? This is why you should take self-custody, okay? Okay, wow. Anyways, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which Phil just explained to me is like the equivalent of a state police / FBI equivalent of Canada. It's not exactly the same, but just to make an analogy for anybody that lives in the U.S. If you live around the world, it's in Spain it's Policía Nacional, the national.
Yeah, they're
police.
more powerful than the local police.
Correct. It's like a national police service. So the Royal Canadian Mounted Police orders blacklist of 34 crypto wallets under Trudeau's authoritarian prerogative. The counter signal has exclusively obtained an order sent by Trudeau's federal police force, which demands that all FinTrack regulated companies in Canada cease transacting with 34 cryptocurrency wallets. The wallets are alleged to be associated with the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. The counter signal has confirmed at least one wallet, which had contained over $1 million worth of Bitcoin, as being part of the Hong Kong HODL campaign to support truckers via cryptocurrency. My thoughts and prayers are with Greg Foss, BTC Sessions, and Jeff Booth. Whether this demand from police will hamper access to the funds is still unclear. The police order comes via Trudeau's extraordinary and self-prescribed emergency powers and affects over 25 Bitcoin worth approximately $1.4 million. The Ontario Provincial Police and Royal Canadian Mounted Police are currently investigating cryptocurrency donations being collected in relation to illegal acts falling under the scope of the Emergency Measures Act, which in Canadian history has never been implemented. It was meant for a wartime situation where the actual sovereignty of Canada was threatened. This is a peaceful protest in Canada, and this is how they implemented it. This is very scary stuff, and I'll get to why this is happening in a second. Pursuant to the Emergency Economic Measures Order under the subsection 19.1 of the Emergencies Act, there is a duty to cease facilitating any transactions pertaining to the following cryptocurrency addresses. Trudeau's officers list 29 Bitcoin addresses, 2 Ethereum, and 1 wallet each, Cardano, Monero, and Litecoin. Each wallet has transacted somewhere between $0 to $1.1 million of digital assets. Here it says any information about a transaction or proposed transaction in respect of these addresses is to be disclosed immediately to the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right? While the police are eager to freeze, here's the signal, guys. Here's the part that you need to pay attention. This is the part of contention, okay? While the police are eager to freeze any funds related to the Freedom Convoy, in all likelihood, this digital cash is far beyond the reach of the government of Canada. That is an extremely powerful statement. I'm getting chills just saying that. And they know that.
Why we Bitcoin.
And they don't like that. In fact, they absolutely hate that. Anyways, Assuming the assets were stored outside of a regulated Canadian cryptocurrency exchange, which they were, we know that they are stored in a multi-sig setup. We don't know who the owners of those keys are, but we do know that they are no longer in the custody of Jeff Booth, BTC Sessions, and Greg Foss. They've been given to anonymous people. And also, I'd also like to mention that the HODL HODL campaign has also been discontinued for obvious reasons. The assets could easily be distributed to a mixer, an online tool that clouds the ability of law enforcement to identify Bitcoin of interest. Now, let me show you guys some of the addresses or the official release by the Royal Canadian Mounted thing. Sorry for the pixelated screenshot. This is the best image that I can get, but I did confirm that this was real. Right, here it is, right, the cryptocurrency alert, and here has the addresses, right? Those are the tainted addresses. It's funny because they tried to treat them like bank accounts, but they're anything but. It's like when the United States put, sanctions on specific Russian cryptocurrency addresses. So what, right? And this is the point, guys, okay? They don't want you to know that. It terrifies them, the fact that people can transact freely. It absolutely scares the living shit out of them. This is why they're reacting the way they're reacting. This is why you're hearing wording from the Treasury, from the IRS about self-hosted wallets, about, the normalizes the custodian, right? Because it's very easy for them to seize custodied assets. It's not very easy, to use their words, to seize self-custodied assets. Now, look, I'm not going to get into the legality of any of this, right? But I think that Trudeau completely crossed the line. That's my opinion, right? I live in America. I think that, the emergency powers for peaceful protest, for people asking for their freedoms back, right, for against these vaccine passports that were inevitably going to lead to digital passports, which I'll get to in a second, by the way. Clearly, there was some nefarious intentions. Clearly, a lot of world governments use the pandemic as an excuse to implement some nefarious things. I'll get to that in a second as well. And here's the thing. Bitcoin is standing in the way. Remember that. Remember that for the next coming years, because shit is going to go down. And the way that you protect yourself is you take self-custody. You take the power back, right? And we fight like hell in a metaphorical sense. We make, we get the truth out through Twitter, through social media, politically speaking, have to get involved, right? We have, Ted Cruz, Senator Cynthia Lummis. We have Congressman Warren, right? We have people making moves, right? But Bitcoin is going to become political. It's not just me saying that. You had the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, also saying that as well. It's going to become a topic of contention, because at the end of the day, like I've been saying throughout the show, guys, I'm trying to hammer it into your head, right? Bitcoin, right? The fact that governments are losing their monopoly on the creation of money is a direct threat to the bureaucracy, to the powers that be, and essentially how society has structured itself for the last 100 years or so, right? It's changing, right? The Federal Reserve has been around since 1913, right? It's a very old system, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin throws a wrench in there, right? And of course, their response is central bank digital currencies, right? To, grasp onto power, centralize more and more and more. But that's only if they get rid of that escape valve. Because as long as there's an escape valve with freedom, people are always going to choose freedom. If you don't believe me, I live in Miami. There's people that literally get on rafts to cross from Cuba to Miami because they want freedom from communism. Also, another example, people in eastern Berlin crossing to West Berlin, through that famous wall to try to escape communism, right? Dude, people are going to want freedom. From my home country, Venezuela, at massive migration after, socialism, Chavismo took a foothold, right? People just left, right? People are always going to want freedom. They're going to want that choice, right? So as long as there's that freedom option, people are going to want it. Governments know that, and unfortunately, that's why they're going to go after it. Unfortunately. So yeah, there's going to be a hairy fight, Phil. That's all I got to say. What are your thoughts? And dude, you're Canadian. What are your thoughts on this, dude? This
oh my
is your
gosh.
Country.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely brutal. My parents still live there. My whole family still lives there. I definitely, I definitely feel bad for them. Trudeau, surprisingly, before he came into power, I was one of those people who was also enamored, right, with the history of his father, not his communist father, but the Pierre Elliott Trudeau, right, the one that they say is his father. Anyways, I like many Canadians, right, we thought that Pierre Elliott, there was a lot of Canadians that thought that Pierre Elliott Trudeau had some really good ideas and that he was, pushing the country forward. And that's how somebody like Justin Trudeau ends up getting elected for real. Okay. On the, sailing on the coattails of his father. Now, the fact that he enacted this emergency order, okay, shows me, number one, zero resilience. Okay, that number one shows me zero resilience. Number two possibly shows me that he is simply doing what he's told, as we've seen. He is one of the quote unquote young leaders of the World Economic Forum. Okay,
I'm glad you brought that up because I have a video that we're gonna play.
Oh, okay, cool. So there you go. So who knows? Maybe there's some coercion going on there. Who knows? Okay, but I can say this: it's an embarrassment. It's fucking pathetic, and it scares the hell out of me that more people aren't enraged. And at the same time, I guess I should also not be surprised, because we're constantly inundated with bullshit, and we're inundated with so much bullshit that we have a difficult time separating what really needs our attention and what doesn't. And hard money, right, which is equivalent to freedom of speech, that demands the utmost attention. It is the base layer for all of our communication and the base layer for all of our value. If this is corrupted, everything we're building on top of it is garbage. And we are living through this garbage Frankenstein creation that we've made.
Yes. Beautifully said, Phil. And look, guys, I've been telling you this concept, right? You're going to have to choose between convenient slavery and slightly inconvenient freedom. Central bank digital currencies and Bitcoin. It's going to be a hell of a fight, right? Not violence, don't do anything illegal, color within the lines, of course, right? But stand up, right? Say something. The only way that you defeat this tyranny, this evil, is solidarity, right? So it's going to be crazy. And now let's start making connections. Why is Trudeau so hell-bent on not, because think about it, the pandemic is basically over, right? Omicron essentially is a very mild version of the thing that cannot be named, the virus, right? So, right, all countries, right, in Switzerland, in Europe, in the United States, they're starting to lift these restrictions, these passports, but Trudeau for some reason is so hell bent on this idea of a vaccine passport. Why is that? I have a case. Anyways, let's check out this video by Klaus Schwab, the infamous leader of the World Economic Forum.
Young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Feel like a slave yet?
Look at the pomp, right? Now, okay, why are the vaccine passports so important, right? Clearly, it's captured. He's a member of the party of Davos, right? It's not a coincidence that the Build Back Better bill was the same name as, what Klaus Schwab's plan with the Great Reset, in the famous video. Some people call it the Great Reset, some people call it the Build Back Better.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Building back better.
To build back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
Some would say to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
Right? And then the infrastructure bill happened to be called Build Back Better. And then you see Boris Johnson saying Build Back Better. You see the Prime Minister of New Zealand saying Build Back Better. Right? What is going on? Right? Now, in terms of the vaccine passports, this came out today. By the way, another Simply Bitcoin, we told you so moment. We told you on this show many months ago that the vaccine passport was inevitably going to lead to digital identities. Why is Trudeau so hell-bent on this idea of a vaccine passport? Because inevitably it was going to lead to a digital identity. And this came out today. Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum says the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a heightened focus on the power of medical data, specifically so-called vaccine passports. These passports by nature serve as a form of digital identity. And here is the World Economic actual document. And here is a picture of essentially, what does that remind you of? That reminds me of the social credit system to me, Phil. Check this out.
That also, I'm sorry, I just want to interject. It also reminds me of the diagram out of Klaus Schwab's book on stakeholder capitalism.
Correct.
As well.
So check this out. Without a digital identity, you won't be able to sign into social platforms. You won't be able to conduct e-commerce. You won't be able to humanitarian response. No travel and mobility. No food and sustainability. No financial services. No healthcare. No telecommunications. No e-government. You need a digital identity. And this pandemic was an awfully convenient way to get everybody to believe, through fear, of course, to sign up willingly, right, to some app on your phone, right? That, every time you go into a supermarket, into a store, right? Oh, show me your digital identity, right? I live in Florida, so I don't have to deal with that bullshit. But I spent New Year's in New York, man, and you had to show a Vax pass just to pass by certain streets, right? That's the future that they want. That's the future with central bank digital currencies. So when I mean that we are in a battle between slavery and freedom, I've always been very serious when I say that. But the battle lines were obfuscated. They distract you with bread and circuses, with, entertainment, Netflix, all these things, right? While in the background, there is some very evil people, some bad hombres. And they have a plan for the world, like the central planners always do, right? And to use the great George Carlin's words, right? There's a club, and you're not in it. You're the peasant. Or like we like to call ourselves, the plebs, right? So the best way that you protect yourself from this, guys, is take Bitcoin into self-custody, opt out of that goddamn slavery system. And if enough people do this, and if we have enough solidarity, and a little help from above, so to speak, right? I don't like to get theological. I really think we'll win this, guys. But it's gonna be a bumpy ride. I'll say that much. Phil, rant's over, dude.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I had not seen that diagram until you pulled it up. So yeah, right away that makes me think of what I explained before. But look. The reality is this, okay? The reason why they're scared of Bitcoin is because Bitcoin really does make us free of their absolute bullshit, okay? So because they can't confiscate our money, that means they can't confiscate our time, and that means they can't fit us into the mold that they're desperately trying to. And as a result, we don't fit in the picture. We don't fit in the puzzle, okay? So what do you do with the puzzle pieces that don't fit? You remove them. You remove them or you cut them to fit, which means you ruin the puzzle. And now it's ruined and it's broken. But anyways, my point is that they are not going to do that, right? They are going to sit there and they are going to build their jail anyways. They are going to Don't think for a second that they're not going to continue along with all of these digital IDs and everything like that. They are simply just going to do that, and they are going to continue to paint us as these, out there extremist, racist, bigoted, whatever you want to call it, when in fact, it is the most inclusive monetary system that humanity has ever had.
Correct. And
they come hell or high water, they want to make sure that you don't think that for a second, okay? They're gale within a prison, whatever it is that they're making, okay? That's what they want you to think is where we all belong. And this is why they want us to have these digital identities. And I also want to point out, these digital identities, who do you think is going to manage them? It's going to be a centralized database. It's going to be another honeypot of data. And who is going to have exclusive rights to the data? I mean, just think, it's going to be very difficult not to want to catalog and index that data and use it for your own purposes. Who's going to have access to that? How are the keys going to be determined? Like, this is psychotic shit, okay? Where it's like the nail in the coffin of digital slavery. And at that point, I honestly, I'm not even really sure where we go from there. I'm really not.
Dude, it's absolutely terrifying.
That's why we Bitcoin.
We told you. And again, I know if you're new to this channel, right, and you're used to the shitcoinery, right, while they're trying to get Lambos, right, we are trying to separate the money from state. So we're actually focusing on what is actually important.
That's right. The problem.
This is what is going on, guys. This is the fight for our lives. This is a fight between freedom and slavery. The shitcoiners are fiat mentality. They're focused on getting fiat rich. Yeah. We are focused on freeing mankind, right? And Bitcoin takes care of everything in the process. It's a deflationary currency. It's meant to go up forever, right? So there's a great battle in front of us, a metaphorical battle. There's a peaceful battle. There's a peaceful revolution at the end of the day. But remember, guys, the way that you win this is engagement, right? Every tweet that you like, every tweet that you post out, every video that you make, every meme that you make is a metaphorical bullet or artillery shell, fighting this information war that we're currently experiencing. This is a battle for people's minds, right? There's going to be people that, we could trust these central bank digital currencies, right? And there's going to be people that are like, wait a second, the government of Canada is acting awfully weird. I'm going to start looking for alternatives. It's funny because on Twitter is the last thing I'm going to say. On Twitter, a lot of people are saying, this is the best marketing Bitcoin's ever received. This press conference from...
It's true.
From Trudeau. And let me tell you something else, guys, right? One last thing. Every moment that Bitcoin survives and keeps churning out every single block with that language from the Canadian government, and I'm assuming it's going to be other world governments, that is the power of Bitcoin. That is the strength of Bitcoin. Remember, Chinese Communist Party, now Canadian government, Honey Badger don't care. But anyways, Phil, it's time for... No, it's not time for anything. There was a software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. It's the best place to store your Bitcoin seed. Check out the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. Comes complete with punch tool and tamper-resistant wire. All right, we've got Cypherpunk Pay version 1.0.13 that was released. It's down below in the show notes, guys. You know the deal. Rain or shine, we post unless we tell you that we're not posting. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, if you like Phil and I's threads, Represent, you can take advantage of the link down below for 15% off anything on the Represent store. And of course, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, pure pleb signal, and the catastrophic fails from these global communists, man, holy shit, that want to control the world, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. And we'll catch you on the next one, guys. See you later.
The more governments scream about Bitcoin and make laws against it, the more powerful it becomes. Bring it.